What's up, demons and demonettes? Tis I, Trexie, a demon queen, and today we're talking about Clashfronts once again. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. Alright, so round 1 has just about concluded, and we're shortly going to be going to the deploy phase in round 2. Now, at this time, you can start coming up with your strategy and your plan for the next round, depending on the outcome here. We're not really going to cover rewards or fights or anything like that here. We're going to talk more about a strategy and some potential teams that we can run. Alright, now if you are the big guild like our guild, right, so we can kind of like see the report. We can see who's in the lead, who's first, second, third, and fourth. As you can see, we can always go into here, right? We know our guild, right? We have the big guild. We have the big Kraken accounts. We have the 2 biggest accounts, actually probably like the 3 or 4 biggest accounts, right, in our guild. So we have a big power advantage there. Then you can always go peep the other guilds to kind of like see what they're working with. You can always go into a different game mode. Like, we could go into Guild Supremacy here, right? Or we can just click on the rankings. We can go here, and we can just kind of click on here to kind of like see what they're working with. Power-wise, how many guild members they have, right? You could do that with all of the different guilds in your event. This is the easiest way, I think, to just kind of peep everybody and see what you're going against. See who's active, see who's a big account that may not be active, right? So while they have 26 players, right, realistically, they're dealing with maybe 22 to 21 people actively playing, whereas in our case, we have 30 people, but we only have 29 actively participating. Now, like, you can go here, you can see they only have 24 members here, and then we can just kind of go, they obviously, they're padding their numbers, so they're probably acting with far less, right? So it looks like maybe they're only acting with maybe half a guild here. And then again, you can speculate though that this guild, they're obviously working with the kind of like the same thing that we are, where they're working with maybe almost a full squad. So they've got 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 inactives, 5 inactives here, it looks like. So maybe they're dealing with more of like a 26 situation. So you can always go in like that and kind of like gauge what your opponents are going to be doing. That's important for figuring out your strategy. Now, if you're like my guild, you have a lot of participants. You have guilds that are maybe only participating at 50% full strength, and are a little bit on the weaker side. You can play what we call in poker the bully. Typically in Texas Hold'em, that's my favorite poker game, is you have the bully. And you can bully when you have the chip count. In this case, that would be the power advantage. So we definitely want to use that because that is a strength of our team. But we don't want to overextend ourselves. So what we want to do, obviously, is we want to try to hold this square. Hold, I think, this square, but we want to go big and grab these 2 squares. Why do we want to grab these 2 squares? Well, if we can grab and control of both of these 2 squares in round 2, that is going to pretty much give us a free tile here. And in round 3, we're going to be getting the treasure hamster. What that'll allow us to is if we control this tile and this tile, as you can see, we have access to this tile then, this tile, and this tile. So we have access to the entire board. Now, that'll allow us to hit whatever square gets up on the treasure hamster, right? So we grab, say, this tile as a free tile, and then we go big on the treasure hamster in round 3. So we're setting ourselves up in round 2 for the big score that's going to come in round 3. Then in round 4, we want to make sure that we hold that treasure hamster and maybe one of these 2 middle tiles, because we'll probably be giving that up in round 3 to get that treasure hamster, right? and then we'll probably be giving this up in round 4 when we hold that treasure hamster, because the treasure hamster is 400 and this is only 250. Now, if we don't grab both of these, it's not the end of the world. Ideally, we want to grab this one, so you want to go a little bit heavier on the side that you don't have this. So if we can hold this square and we can grab this square, we'll be again set up, because that will once again give us access to the entire board for when the treasure hamster drops in the subsequent round. Now, if you're not the powerhouse guild and you already go, maybe we can't beat this guild, maybe we should play for second, and we go with sort of a loss restriction of playing for a second. So say you're this guild here, Arc, right? You're the second guild. You're like, we know we can't compete with the powerhouses in this guild. So you actually have, I think, more options when you're playing for second. So what you can do is you could go heavy for one of these tiles here, because if you split 50-50, you're not going to grab either. So what I would do is I would go heavy for one of these tiles, try to hold this tile, and then go for this tile, right? So if they could hold this tile, grab this tile, and grab this tile while holding this tile as well, it's going to give them a nice chunk. Now, if for some reason, even if they go big and they lose out on one of these tiles, they're going to keep this tile, they're going to grab this tile, and they're going to grab this tile. What that's going to do is that's going to remove any possible score from this guild here in getting the 80 points there and give them an advantage, right? So they would end up with 260, and this guild, maybe if they grab this tile from us, gets 100, so that will set them up there nicely to hold that. There's nothing, I mean, they just have to really hold out against this guild here and hope that they don't make a play and grab this tile here, right? So if you're one of these two guilds here, you can try to make a play for one of the bigger guild's smaller tiles, assuming that that guild kind of abandons it because it's only 80 and they want to go for one of the bigger tiles in the middle. So you could potentially maybe snag this tile, or if they're too careless, you can, try to minimize holding this tile. You can go big on this. You can go for this tile, send maybe like a few squads, and then go big for this tile, right? And just grab this. So you got that, and that. All right. So if you're like this guild here, you could go big for this tile. Try to grab this tile and go here. If you're one of these smaller guilds, right, and you already got pounded by this guild, and you know you're at a serious disadvantage, like, you go back and you realize, okay, they're gonna beat the skirmish. It doesn't really matter. They crushed us in the melee. It didn't take that many squads to do so, and they annihilated almost our entire guild. What you could do is, okay, like, we're not gonna compete with this guild or this guild, so we're not going to even bother going for this. So what we could do is try to grab this and then try to grab that. That's your best bet. So then, like, here, you maybe want to try to play for a second and just kind of let the one of the bigger guilds go here. You can also try to go all in, but you're probably gonna get chewed up by the two larger guilds. Now, if you are the second guild, the other thing too is you could just make the play for this tile, and hold this tile, and let the bigger guild grab the middle two tiles, so that way you let this guild cannibalize all of the points, right? So they get a huge lead. They'll cannibalize the even smaller guilds, and then you go after the other smaller guilds, right? You just control, like, this half of the board, and hope that the treasure hamster doesn't land on one of your tiles so that the big guild goes for it. But again, in round 3, if you're this guild and you say the treasure hamster goes here, big guild probably gonna go heavy for this tile, gonna be able to take me out, even if we put all of our big squads here. So then we could try to grab one of these tiles here while holding on to these two tiles here, right? So that's kind of just some future thinking and some strategy. Now, if we're gonna talk teams, right, Yapala, or was it Fight Club, has, and maybe Analytica has a listing of teams that you can run. Other content creators have put them out there. I threw out some stuff as well. But you're probably wondering, well, what am I running? Am I going against the grain? So my answer is yes. If everybody's running the same stuff and you can come up with a couple squads that can give those things problems, you can expect to win your Vanguard skirmishes, and you can expect to do a little bit better in the melee, and maybe not everybody's able to run those recommended squads. So here are my teams that I kind of currently have, and we're going to talk about them in a second. Alright, I think this control team is very, very sound. Very a good control team. It counters your Lily May with Nero, and it just takes advantage of the talents and the charm sets, right? So you have Nero buffing Arden, you have Almost buffing Elsa, and then you have Arden and Elsa on your Wilder tiles, and then Nero can eat your Lily Mays, so your control team can work. Alright, I think I modified this squad a little bit. I didn't feel like it needed the extra heals. I went ahead and went with Granny, just to free up Damien for another team so I could run an additional Wilder comp, because Wilder is so strong in PvP at the moment thanks to their tiles. So we're going to run this team, which is your Tassie, Taylene Bonnie, which we know from experience is very, very strong. We just need another Wilder in here. That's a strong frontliner, and that role falls to our Granny, right? She's plus 10. P3 gonna be pretty strong all around. We can invest, but I'm not going to invest for this game mode. Now, we have this other squad here. I changed this squad. I made it more of a Graveborn focus squad, and I added a little bit more firepower. So we have Harak here. Now, on my main squad, I actually edited this, so we can go ahead and we can make this tweak. So what I ended up doing is I ended up dropping a Carolina, because I put my new favorite PvP hero in there, and that is Sylvina. So Sylvina is going to get a Rainer Shield and buff. She's going to jump over. She tends to shred anybody she jumps over and hits, especially at Paragon 4, plus 20. And then once she shreds that enemy, it's going to cause everybody to run around in panic. Alright, so then we can go to next. And then we have our Dun Dio team. And now I did change this up. I did put Lenya in here with the squad just to move some pieces around. We have Lorson and Leica. And then for our final squad, we have Parisa, Lily May, Cryonaya, Freyesto, and Damien, right? That's just to make sure that we get as many Wilder comps as possible. As you can see, we're running not 3, but 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 Wilder comps. That's just because Wilder is so strong for the talent tiles. Now, as you can see, we're running various artifacts here. Lightforge is only good with Carayo and Dio. In this case, I gave it to the Dio team. I ended up running this squad as my Vanguard squad because it is pretty beefy and pretty nuky, right? Because you look at this, we've got 1, 2, 3 crown heroes, a fairly beefy Parisa, and our beefy Damien, right? So we have these nasty squads. I had debated running a Brian here, who's also another really good PvP hero. The only issue is that I wanted to run Parisa because she's really good, and she can buff our Cryonaya to let our Cryonaya ult faster, right? But again, we're not worried too much about the other units, because if we go in and we take a look at our records and we look at our skirmish match, you can see we're only going to get against Paragon 1 S+ heroes. These guys, they don't stand a chance, right? So our Cryonaya, just her regular ability essentially wipes out the enemy team. She ults and kills off Brutus, right? So our Cryonaya is going to be big. She's huge for this game mode because she's one of the best PvP heroes. Now, as you can see, now that we've got the other talents unlocked, we've been focusing heavy on Wilder, hence running 4 Wilder teams. So when it comes to your talents, you definitely want to build out your teams that you're running the most. So if you can run 4 Wilder teams, then obviously build out your Wilder talent tree. That's going to help you a lot. Again, we want to try to get this unlocked for the next round. When it eventually goes, because that's going to be huge. That's going to give us a huge advantage. That's another thing you can kind of do behind the scenes to give you an advantage as well. So that's it for this one. Good luck. If you ever need advice on this game mode, or you want to talk teams or strategy, you can always hit me up in game or hit me up on Discord. I'm probably only a Traxy out there. So that's it. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.